The fifth biggest loss in the Essendon Football Club history. GWS's highest score ever and the biggest win in the history of the GWS Giants. Essendon 5-6-36, not even defeated by, absolutely hammered, flogged, whatever word you can think of,
Annihilated.
by the GWS Giants. 25 goals, 12, 162, a 126-point loss. Welcome back to the Don Pod. Bit of a somber mood today. It's just occurred to me Nathan hasn't got his background on, if you want to do that while I'm introing. Yes, welcome back. It's going to be a weird one today, and I'd venture a guess to say quite possibly a short one. There we go. I am joined by Nathan now with a background. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Sam. How are you?
Do we need to exchange pleasantries?
No, we need to probably burn something. I think there needs to be
some things. Yep.
Burn some things. I feel like something need to be burned. It's the old days when I needed something, a paper membership that I could burn.
Your microwave, I think, is the cool thing to do. Yeah. We still get a card. I'm sure you can bung that somewhere.
No, I don't have a. Oh, yeah, I do have a card. I was thinking of the digital one. Yeah.
Some of that merch you bought a couple of weeks ago for your child.
Yeah.
She won't mind.
Thankfully, the children were busy doing other things and had friends over and didn't watch it at all. So
lucky them.
Whereas I, as I've just found out, I sat through to the 100-point mark. Once it got out to 100 points, I thought, I think we're gone.
Yeah, I think it's over.
You went through to the first quarter.
Yeah, I watched the first quarter. For my own mental health, I think, had to just sit it out. And I knew there was a moment in very early on, I think GWS, either their second or third goal where, what's his name? Redmond, thank you. Shit himself completely, dropped an easy mark, and then let his opponent run away with the ball without giving so much of a attempt to chase him. That I went, and I genuinely, I'm not even making this up, sat there and went, this is going to be 100 points. Well, I was being a little bit dramatic, I'll admit, but
yeah. I was trying to do the right thing, and I was writing notes, and I got to the start of the second quarter, and I stopped because.
Yeah, I've been there.
And in my notes, it says one of them, Redmond is soft. And that was that exact moment. That was fucking soft, mate. Like, all you had to do, you were shit scared that someone was coming up behind me and they went, boo. And you went, I dropped the ball.
Yep. There was also a moment, and
there was several moments when
I wasn't going to mention this. Well, I've only got the first quarter. So when I talk about my moments, that's all I've got. Where Merritt was running back with the flight and just pulled up.
Yep.
And I made excuses for him at the time. Like, he was probably never getting there.
Kelly did it too. Kelly took some small steps. A few of them did it. A few of them took small steps, like where they didn't want the contest. Now,
this was the game. This was our final, and we don't need to talk about our history in finals. Hilariously, the last time we scored 36 points, elimination final 2021.
And I think that's the most frustrating thing for me is that when the game, like, you can win as many games as you want at round 10 against good teams. That's all well and good. All well and good.
Ability to continue.
But at the end of the year, and don't give me the bullshit that they're feeding us of, they're a young team, they're a bit more, had a big pre-season and, all that.
Hawthorn are winning now. North look okay. West Coast
have been competitive. Every other team has been fucking competitive. Adelaide are younger than us. They just, we'll talk about that later, but they shouldn't have lost.
They should have won a game of football, yes.
So don't give me the bullshit that we're all of a sudden, we're just a bit tired. If we are tired, drop the fucking tired players and play some VFL kids and let's see what they are. Let's see Voss. Let's see, the kids that are there. Even Lord, I don't give a shit. Like, seriously, I don't want to see that tripe from my club. If guys don't go back with the flight of the ball, fuck them off. I say you're not allowed to wear the jumper if you're not prepared to commit to the fucking club. Burn the motherfuckers out. I think I'm finished.
Okay, that was beautiful. That was lovely. I've never seen such anger from you. I'm not even angry. I'm just disappointed.
It sounds like such a parent.
Yeah.
I'm not angry. I'm disappointed in you.
And it gets to the point, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, that you start almost encouraging the other team, like, make it worse. Do it.
Yep.
Make it worse.
That. Make it 150 points.
Yeah. And I was going for them to get their highest score because the narrative around that. And they embarrassed us before we even got on the ground.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now, North Melbourne, take note. This is how you piss a club off. You do that, and then you beat them by 126 points.
Yep.
I can't believe we've been embarrassed by the newest club in the AFL, the smallest club. I know they're
And
quite good at football, but they're the smallest club in the AFL.
and seriously, so last year they sacked their coach because they came a spot above us, weren't
Yeah,
they?
they were
Like,
pretty much right with us. Yep.
yeah. So they were exactly the same spot last year. Sacked their coach, same as us. Lost some good players, Hopper and
Taranto,
Taranto.
yes, very good
We
players.
didn't even lose good players. I mean, we can't even have that argument. And then now they've come to the end of the year when I'm sure they had a big preseason. I'm sure their bodies are a bit tired, but guess what? They went and fucking committed and put their bodies over the ball and won the damn thing. And now they're going to play finals.
Yeah.
Now I'm so happy we're not playing finals because that's the sort of tripe we would have served up in the first week.
Sort of explains why we felt that way. There was a bit of chat on Twitter like, oh, I can't believe people don't want us to make finals.
Yeah.
This is why. Because
it's embarrassing.
We were one place above them on the ladder. I'm not sure if it was 10th and 11th, possibly before yesterday.
I think it was, yeah.
And we were $3.30 to their $1.20 or $1.30 or something. Like, we were actually one place above them. They were heavy favourites, which probably, I mean, we felt we were shit the last 2 weeks anyway. But
and I think it puts those last two games in context now. Like,
yes, we try to make excuses for those two games, like, oh, maybe the other teams have just improved. Well, West Coast went out and lost by 100 points the next week. North were okay yesterday against Richmond.
Yep.
But
Richmond are
score.
Yeah.
Richmond defence. I have a mate that goes for Richmond, and every time he's commented on their defence being terrible, Essendon have come out like 3 hours later and gone, hold my beer.
Mm.
I'm going to read through some numbers. I kind of skipped that bit at the start. But
No, that's fine. Let him go.
Langford, 2 goals, breaks the 50-goal mark for the first time in his career. We'll
give a little congratulations to Langer.
That's a very, very good season for a bloke we would never have expected 50 goals out of.
No.
Phillips, Menzies,
and played every game. He'll play every game.
Yep.
Well, I don't think he was injured, but that's the first time.
Don't put the moz on him. He can still. Well, I think
the second time in his whole career he's played every game in a year.
And that was your biggest.
My biggest knock on him at the start of the year was that he can't get through a season.
Yep. Well, now he can. Phillips, Menzies, Caldwell, 1 goal. McGrath, 32 touches. Hine, 28. It tells you a lot about where the ball was.
Yeah, but none of them were marks. Have a look at the marks. It's disgusting.
And 27. I don't actually have that on my list.
Well, Hogan took 17. Himmelberg took 8. Whitfield took 7. Ward took 7. Iden, took 7. Green 6. Cunning. Like, I haven't hidden this. Perkins the first one with a 5.
Yikes. Okay, that's bad.
I mean, that's disgusting that you can't mark the ball. Like,
minus 48. We were 40 below our average for 2023.
Like, that's a massive issue. Yet you've got Guy Wiedemann who can take marks. You've got Stewart, guy who can take marks in the VFL.
They took 19 marks inside 50.
19.
Oh, it's 13.
And our forwards, our defenders, and if you look at them, I think Zerk Thatcher was the most with 3.
Woof. Big day.
Like,
I was also...
I'm not going to count Heppel because he's a more like sideways, he takes the ball not as contested marks.
I'm not going to...
That's all right. I just... Fucking issues. Massive issues.
Then. I talked about Redmond and that moment that I knew we were up shit creek. There was the first goal, I think, that Hogan kicked, where he just brushed off Zerk Thatcher as though he was a twig and a tiny little leaf and took a contested mark. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, Zerk. Like, I know you're a bit thin.
But you're 5-6 years in the competition now. You should be able to...
Against a guy who's not tall.
No, there's 1 centimetre difference.
Hogan's not a giant.
No. I had a look at this. There was a 1 centimetre difference. And kilos is the problem. And the issue there is that Zerk Thatcher obviously cannot put weight on because he's been in the system long enough to have tried to put some weight on.
Yep.
So if he can't put weight on and he's small, you say, he's more of a Dustin Fletcher. That's fine. Then learn how to play like a Dustin Fletcher and don't body up on players.
You can't body up. That's right.
And the fact that he's had a guy kick 9 on him, and then was it Hawkins kicked however many on him early in the year?
It was. Yep.
Then and this is the thing that really frustrated me about the game is it would have been nice to have another sort of big size defender, not Laverde because he's shit, like Baldwin, to come into the team and maybe swap them over. Because Baldwin, I reckon, would have done a better job on Hogan.
Even though giving away
Well, you're going to give
4
away
or
2
5
centimeters.
centimetres.
No, he's not that much. He's 193. Hogan's only like 196. Like we're talking 3 centimeters. We're talking an inch. We're not talking a mile.
Okay.
And this is the thing. May, who plays for Melbourne, is shorter than both of them. He's like 191. And
Yep.
he gives away those centimeters to him all the time and yet has the ability to fucking defend.
Do you know what the good thing with Melbourne, though?
Yeah, what's that?
They've got 2 of them.
Well, they have guys that help.
They've got 2 very capable defenders, as well as others who...
And this was another issue without defence. Like a few times, probably second and third quarter, you didn't see, where Hogan took marks and none of the other defence, like BZT just sort of dropped off him at the back and, didn't get the run up and jump. And none of the other defence, they just watched him. Oh, yeah, that's it. Yep, Hogan's taking that one. None of the other defenders were like leaving their man coming in to try and take the mark because none of them can mark. That's the biggest issue. I think Laverde thinks he can mark. But he can't.
I was going to have a little dig at Lav last week, but decided against it. It was in the last quarter, and he was outmarked by one of their medium to small forwards. He went up at the back and had his hands there like that. And I'm like, bro,
just
you're
for
a
those
defender.
people on a Spotify,
Oh, yes,
I think.
marking
He
hands.
had his hands in a marking position.
Yes, marking hands, not fist. Sorry, I do forget. I can see me, so...
Yeah.
Had his hands out to mark, and the North player just took the mark easy as you like in front of him. And I'm like, bro, you are a defender. It is not your job to mark the ball every time. Have a bit of brain.
Punch.
And punch. And it was a simple punch. It wasn't like he was getting outreached. It wasn't in front of him. Nothing. It was just, would have been a simple punch. They kicked the goal, and I think that was the goal that got them back in within, maybe it was last quarter anyway. Can't remember.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, that would likely be the last game I attend for this year, and I'm glad it was a win.
Well, I'm not going to watch the Collingwood game, and I try and watch every. Well, I do watch.
Well, the fact
you
watched 3/4 of yesterday is.
But I'm not going to watch it next week because here's what I know. Mason Cox will probably kick 6 or 7 because they won't, and I'll be laughing at the teams that announced this week because they'll probably make one change. It'll be Guelphy, who I think did his hammy or something like that. Or probably Snelling. They'll do that. They'll go Guelphy for Snelling. Yeah, of course, Snelling. That's the obvious choice because that's what we do every fucking week. We won't drop Phillips because he's fucking retired. So I don't know why he's still playing in the team. That's not helping our development going forward, is it? Tell me how if we're crap and we know we're a long way off it. What's the point of paying the guy that's retired 3 games ago?
Yep.
How does that help us?
Yep.
Why not play fucking Bryant? Send Phillips back to the VFL and say, mate, you're just playing the VFL for the rest of the year. That's the end of your career. Bad luck. Thank you very much.
Yep.
That's how careers end sometimes, buddy.
Sometimes, yeah.
And play Phillips. Because the issue was Draper was underdone and they came up against a very, very good ruckman.
Which is the only defence I can think. Briggs is a big, solid guy.
But
and the only
form.
defence,
Like
I'm being devil's advocate here, is that they might have wanted to protect...
No, that's bullshit.
Man. Anyway,
That's
Brian in the
bullshit.
VFL.
Like, what's the point of protecting him? Like,
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I'm
protecting him from what? A big ruckman that he's going to have to play against
next year anyway, because
English. I will give the point. I'll go back to English every time. He's had to carry that workload for the Dogs for 4 years, I reckon, as nearly their number one ruckman, and he's had to go up against big ruckman a lot of times, and he's learnt now. Good. Yeah, and that's how you become. That's the same strategy when you get a young kid in the midfield. You put him on the best midfield and go play on him and learn. There's nothing for him to learn in the VFL.
Totally agree. We've just been devil's advocate.
Oh, no.
Interestingly,
it just shits me to tears.
Brian, 23 touches, a goal, and 42 hit-outs in the VFL. Yep. So,
could have done with that in the fucking seniors, you spuds.
He better play next week.
Oh, if Phillips played again, just burn the fucking place. Like, what's the point?
I agree, and I said this to you last week when the teams were named. What is the point of playing the guy who's retiring in 2 weeks at the expense of the guy who's going to be playing for the next 12 years?
And then the other thing I'd say about selection is the whole Kelly thing's fucked. Like,
well, at least he finally went back to defence. He's still shit.
Then what was the experiment on the wing and the forward? Like, what was the point of that? Like,
surely that now tells us
it doesn't work.
He's not in the 22. He was shit on the wing. He was shit as a forward. And guess what? He's shit as a defender. I would even back Baldwin for him. There's about 1 centimetre difference between the two.
I'd back fucking Massimo D'Ambrosio, who's in hospital at the moment, to play better than Kelly.
Yeah,
I'd
fair.
wheel him out on the fucking bed, push him around the ground. He'll get a couple of more better kicks.
He'll get a touch or two.
At least he'll probably commit to the ball.
Yeah, that's.
And this is my great concern is that, so I think you told me a few weeks ago, you mentioned that our list had been the least named players, or we've only had 33 named players, 34 named players this year.
Mhm.
So we've barely,
We've had
changed.
a similar.
So Scott has had a really good look at all these players. And I'm fascinated to think, well, at the end of the year, does he cull some of these guys who are in the 22 now because he's had a good look at them and they're not good enough? Or does he cull VFL guys who he hasn't had a look at? I'm just really, because we'll have to drop some players off this year.
Well, yeah, and we're going to.
And I know, like, Kelly's probably got contracts and all that sort of stuff, so it's going to be ridiculous. But you just say you're VFL, mate. You're back up.
So what you do, if we look at the players, which we'll do this in a bit more detail, right? But it doesn't have to be delisting. So you can look at someone like Fitzmaghee off halfback McGrath, who I thought was out of contract this year. He's not. Don't worry.
I thought he was too.
Potential for trade bait. Rather than if
I think he's next year, McGrath, isn't he? He's out of contract.
He's a free agent next year. It doesn't have to be delist. You can look at
the other one too. I'll throw out is Parrish. I wouldn't if I was him after that game. I'd be like,
find reasons to stay, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd be like, I reckon Geelong will be all right. I know if they don't get flogged, at least going backwards. But I'd rather go play there. Thanks. I'd struggle to think if I'm him and go, now why am I staying? I like a lot of the boys, but why would I want to stay here after that? Because it's exactly the same. 12 months ago, we played Port Adelaide in the second last round of the game, and they flogged us by 80 points.
Yep.
We have not gone anywhere. We've beaten some teams, like we've had more wins than last year, but
we had a softer draw this year than we had the previous year too.
We played the bottom 4 times. So the problem is that we might not be actually any better, yet we're not getting a better draft pick.
Well, what's our better wins, right? So
Melbourne
was the one, but that was early in the year. You go, okay, that might have just been.
And Melbourne haven't been great throughout the year.
Youthful exuberance. Richmond, not very good.
No, that wasn't. They haven't been great. They haven't even made the 8. So
they're 2 points behind us. So,
well, have we haven't beaten Collingwood, Brisbane, Port. We've beaten Melbourne, Carlton. Since that's the one that really hurts. Like since that game, they haven't lost. I don't think, have they?
No, they haven't. They're 9 straight. You couldn't think of a more polar opposite in terms of trajectory for a football club. We beat them, and we were like, "Hey, get stuffed, Carlton. You're shit again.
Yep.
We're amazing. We're in the 8. You're not."
10 games later, we're getting flogged by 130 points, and they're in the 8.
And they're 5th, and they're lock 5th. They're playing like a top 4 side.
Yep.
A bit of a fault
so
yesterday.
It's only them and Melbourne who are in the top 8 at the moment. So we haven't beaten the Giants. We haven't beaten Sydney.
We haven't beaten GWS.
But did we beat them?
We beat them in about round 4 or 3.
Okay, so I'd call it a win, one loss, but they did flog us the second time. So
on aggregate,
on aggregate, they're flogging us. We've beaten 3 teams in the top 8.
And I mean, if we played Hawthorn right now, who was 16th, so outside of North and West Coast, because they're a bit special.
They'd beat us.
Hawthorn would beat us. Gold Coast would beat us. Freo would beat us. Adelaide, Richmond, Geelong. But we're not beating anyone other than North Melbourne and West Coast right now.
And we've just beaten them.
That is an issue.
Well, that's where we're at. And the problem is we're 10th, so we're going to get pick 7 or whatever, 8 or however that works.
Well,
and yet we should be realistically getting pick 3 because that's about where we belong.
We can theoretically drop as low as 14th.
I hope the fuck we do.
I hope we do as well.
Smash us.
Yeah.
I'd say we've got the 3rd lowest percentage too.
I was going to say, we don't even need to be smashed. 4th lowest.
4th lowest. So that probably puts us about where we belong, really. I think the percentage may be the true indicator of how shit we are.
Yeah. I want to... Well, it's probably a bit early to be doing votes, but we're not going to do votes.
No, it's too hard.
But
who would out there, if you're listening, who would you give 3-2-1 to? If you watched any of that game,
if you watched the whole game, seriously,
then you deserve someone. You deserve the 3.
You deserve your 2024 membership for free.
Yep. That should be a thing, actually, shouldn't it? Like, if you've sat through that, the other thing, I want to know.
And another thing.
I want to know what Scott says. I want to know what coaches say to players after a game like that? Do you get like we and rant and scream and shout and say it's piss weak, take the jumpers off, don't you wear them, and
All that's in
or do you
my
say, oh,
head,
bad luck, boys, we've got to rebound and get back into it next week,
all that's in my head is Krusty. I think it's Krusty the Clown. What the
Mm.
hell was even that?
I want to know if they do like a training this week, like a mouth guard in training, because
I
that's
think
the old
those
school.
days are gone, aren't they?
Oh, I think that's what I'd bring back. I really would. I'd say, all right, you're playing Collingwood this week. They're playing for a lot because they're 3 out of 4 losses.
Well, they
They're
can not
they're
finish
having
on
a
top of the
horrible
ladder
run.
too.
Yeah, but I think that's safe now.
Well,
As if we're
yeah, I
gonna beat
mean,
them.
they're
As if we're gonna
literally they're one game ahead of Brisbane and
Yeah.
on identical percentage. So yeah,
The only way it
Collingwood-
happens if they lose, and that's not going to happen.
Well, I'd be very surprised.
Oh, as I said, Mason Cox will kick 6, McStay will kick 8, and Cameron will probably kick 4 because he'll be mostly rucking.
Yeah,
But
I'm
seriously,
quite.
if they don't bring Baldwin back in to at least deal with one of those tools, then I'm
Yes,
digitally removing my membership.
digitally removing. Just delete the email. That'll show them.
Yeah. Am I writing a letter?
It's funny, and I'm gonna move away from this football for a minute and talk about the Matildas.
Yep,
just a little bit because I mean it's the whole captured the nation thing and all that sort of stuff, and I've people who I know who have never watched a second of sport in their life watched the game against England.
My wife cheered.
Yes, bizarre world. You look at that team, and it's disappointing now that we've gone out on 2 losses essentially.
Yeah.
Lost to England, then lost to Sweden last night. But
Yeah, that does suck. But
I can look at that and go, geez, they gave their all. Bloody hell, they were so. I think tactically they were awful. I think the coaching was this whole game style that we have of letting the opposition control the ball and then counter is bizarre when you've got quality players like we've got. But anyway, they gave their all for what they had to play with. And then I watch Essendon lose by 126 points, and I just go, Jesus Christ! I might just buy a membership to Melbourne City or Melbourne Victory, whatever, men's and women's. Take my daughter down to go watch the women's every now and then.
Let's go get flogged by.
Well, and yeah, worst case we might lose 3-0. Like,
Yep.
So what? I think it's just amplified when you've had this such adoration of a team like the Matildas over the last week and a bit, and then you go, fucking hell, what are we doing this for? You lot are paid a lot of money
especially those on new contracts
to represent this football club and to go out there and die on the field if it's so required.
That's I just found that what really frustrated me, and we've talked about this 1,000 times, is just the effort for what was on the line was disgusting.
Correct. It's not surprising though, is it?
No, it's not surprising, but it's so frustrating. Like, I don't understand how you can get a group of players give that little amount of effort in a game that meant, even if it didn't mean anything, even if finals were gone, like you're still paid to play 23 games a year. Like, you're still expected to come out. And you know how we talk about the minimum we expect is effort?
Minimum expectation, yes.
We didn't even get that.
But when you watch other teams, so I watched a little bit of Collingwood and Brisbane. I didn't watch the whole game. Just wow. Ferocious. Effort after effort after effort. Even watching Richmond and North yesterday, I found myself going for North, which is a little bit gross. But anyway, they're at least they're competing. They're contesting the ball time and time again. It's not just one effort or, oh shit, he's got away from me. That's a shame.
But what we saw was West Coast sort of stuff on the weekend from us.
Well, to be fair, I haven't spent a lot of time watching West Coast.
But some of their 100
losing by that.
Been,
what did they lose to Sydney by? Was it more than it was 130 something, wasn't it?
When did they play Sydney?
West Coast and Sydney was a couple of.
Oh, was that the game after us?
No, this was a couple of weeks ago.
The one, back on the soccer, sorry to have changed subject.
That's okay. 171. Okay, not the biggest loss this season.
The one thing, and we haven't discussed this game because I haven't seen you for the week. That Sam Kerr strike.
Oh, God.
I don't. Now, I'm not into soccer. You know that.
How do you know that?
I watched that and I was like, oh my fucking God. That is so much quality. Like, I jumped. I was like, oh my God, what a strike.
It had to be her. And it's hilarious because anyone who, I think most people who watch sport identified the fact she had a free runner on the left-hand side. And as she shot, I went, you fucking kidding me. Pass it. She's free as anyone could be. You've taken two defenders, just bop, and it was a goal. And all that in the space of like 3 seconds. And then, you see that net bulge. Oh my God. And it's so disappointing that goal won't be that goal because England scored 2 more.
But just the power from that distance.
It took a little deflection. It took a little deflection off the English leg.
Did it? I would have argued it didn't in the shorts I watched. It looked like it just missed the English leg in front and then was, 30 centimetres off the hand of the keeper.
Either way,
it's pretty amazing from that distance. Not even inside the box, like a long way out.
Yep. And this is why... I can't. I was going to compare it to AFLW, but that's probably going down some risky roads. The quality that the Matildas have given us is definitely phenomenal.
And I would argue, if that's what you're going to talk, I would argue that that's because Sam Kerr and a few of those other Fowlers and a few of those others get to play in an English Premier League.
They're playing in good leagues. Yeah, it's amazing.
Imagine the facilities, the training, and all the stuff they're being given the opportunity compared to the the female league here, where they play 10 games, and most of them, all of them, have to work full-time jobs.
Wayne Carey, I think, quoted as saying it's a bit of a Mickey Mouse competition only because they don't even play every team.
Yeah.
And they're playing at a different time to the men's. And I saw this really great explanation on TikTok, and
they're not professional.
We've kind of digressed
Sam Kerr would be professional.
Yes. Into a whole other world here. But
sorry.
When you say footy, it's assumed men's. Soccer, you're assuming men's. And then you have to clarify the women's. It's bizarre. Particularly with soccer, because what we've seen is that they are fucking incredible. When England beat Nigeria, I think, in the round of 16, went to penalties, one of their girls scored a goal, or scored one of the pens, that was harder hit, faster travelling than any goal in the Premier League in England last season. Which, anyway, let's not go down this rabbit warren. But when you've got such an inspirational team doing what they've done in front of 11 million people watched the semi-final against England, and then you watch Essendon play. In fact, you watch AFL in general. And now that's a great segue, me. We can talk about Adelaide and Sydney last night.
Yes.
That was a goal, right?
Oh, 100%.
There is
Have
no
you seen the
doubt.
Footage from someone's camera behind the goals?
I did see it, but it didn't really give you much because they turned
I thought
away.
it gave me a lot when I watched it. I mean, I thought the goals from the AFL were clearly it doesn't touch the post. And then this angle from behind, I'm like, oh, well, that has not even gone. Like, there's a gap. Like, there's clearly a gap, I feel.
And this is an issue with the rules because every goal's reviewed by default.
But not every point.
But how do you do it? My question is more,
Yes, you're right.
What is the umpire seen to just not even question hitting
and
the
they
post?
normally do. This is the thing that I found, because often there was, even in the Essendon game later in the third quarter.
Oh, yeah, the Kelly
There
goal.
was one where it wasn't clearly a goal, and the umpire's going, it's a goal, but I just want to check it wasn't touched off another player's foot. And I went, I think it's fine. And it was clear. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Yet I felt they was overusing it. Yet that example of that Adelaide, with a minute and a half to go, a goal like that.
Team's
and you think,
season depending on
and you think, oh, maybe I'll just check that one. Can someone have a look at it?
Well, that's anyway. My first question. What's he seen? The people, I mean, this is just Twitterverse, but saying, hit top of the padding. No, it didn't. When you have the side on and the front on, it's the depth of it. When it goes behind the post, it looks close to the padding.
Yep, because
as it goes past the padding, it's
starting to go down.
It's miles off.
Yeah. No, it's not near the padding. That's bullshit if someone's saying that, because it starts to go down, and then it looks like, because as it goes past the post, it starts to go down and starts to get closer to the post.
Do you remember that very, very iconic quote of the Adelaide supporter being interviewed after
yes,
the Crows were robbed? Right in front of me. They were, 100%. And it'd be interesting to see what the AFL do. with a minute and 11 seconds left, you can't categorically say Adelaide would have won. That's one of the problems.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, it's a long time. Sydney could have gone and got a clearance and bang, bang, bang.
Oh, yeah.
But I hope, and this is where the AFL just need to come out and say, yeah, we got it wrong. Sorry, Adelaide.
Sorry.
And we just have to move on. If they come out and defend it,
Oh,
this
they
is
will.
where you go.
I can guarantee they'll come out and
fuck?
say it was the umpire made the right call.
Just say, yes, it should have been reviewed, or the umpire saw this, or whatever. Don't just excuse it, for Christ's sake. There are too many things that, I mean, not to bring betting into it, but people lose money. Adelaide have lost their chance at finals, which is obviously the bigger deal. But, you know, there are other factors when betting is so much promoted by the friggin' league. Yeah. Anyway.
It was fascinating. There were a few games, I guess, this week that I thought were interesting. But
Gold Coast and Carlton was fascinating yesterday.
Yeah, I thought Gold Coast were going to do that. I still don't understand the fact that they sacked their coach and they're still playing good footy. And I don't think that's any other reason. They just have a pretty decent list.
It's Gold Coast.
Yeah.
They got some good players.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting with Dimmer. And it's fascinating yesterday that Hardwick sat in the crowd and watched that game. Richmond and North, and obviously Jack Rewalt's last game, Cochin's last game. Not sure if they're playing next week or if it was just their last home game. Well, he's left them because he didn't have the heart to coach anymore, didn't have it in him. And 3 months later, not even that, 2 months later, he's
I wouldn't mind coaching again.
I would be dirty. Like, mate, you left us in a really shocking position as a football club because you couldn't do it anymore. And how are you going to do it again?
I agree. There's a little bit of a stain in that one that I don't like. In that, I agree with you that. So it was too hard for you at the start. You know, after around when we've been around 10 or whatever, it was all too hard. Took some time off, travelled overseas. That's great. Good on you. But I wouldn't mind getting back into this coaching thing. Yeah. I would go now. Tell us the truth. Did you have this plan at the end of the year always to go up to Gold Coast?
It reeks, and he'll get forgiven, I'm sure, because he's a 3-time premiership coach at a football club that hadn't won a premiership since.
He does obviously have clearly dodgy morals, though, because he's got a bit of a history.
Well, I'd be filthy. I'd be like, mate,
like he's had an affair on his wife. Well, no, whatever the term is.
Yeah, you know what you mean. Yeah, I think they have every right to be pissed off, and forgive him a little bit because he did win your 3 flags, but he ruined their season this year.
But that can't be. You can't just. Yeah, they can't be just. Oh, he's won premierships. He's a great.
He's a
bloke.
bit of a shit bloke, but yeah.
Yeah, like I think what's his name? Obviously Bomber Thompson had issues. Like he was, he clearly was involved in drugs and stuff like that. And he allegedly won. Yeah, well, I think he went to court over it. I don't think it's allegedly.
Still.
Yep. And so there's stuff like that, and he's, he won flags at Geelong, but you have to also put the good and the bad, don't you? Well, recently, there was that horrible man, the horrible player from North Melbourne who was taken out of the what was he was caught he was charged for something like 30 years ago with a young girl. He's played for North Melbourne back in like the 70s. I can't think of his name. Anyway, they took him out of the team of the century sort of stuff and all that, Hall of Fame and all that sort of stuff recently. And the AFL took him out because of the charges against him.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Can't think of his name though. Somebody will know him.
Good to
he
see
played for North Melbourne. It's a name you'll know. So yeah, he's clearly not a nice bloke. Anyway, I wanted to briefly touch on the VFL.
Oh, well, yeah, we were going to do that. We did also bring up votes earlier, and my point of doing so was just we're going to give one symbolic vote each, I believe. We haven't talked about this at great
Correct, yes.
To Kyle Langford, purely for 50 goals in the season, and just to recognise that is rather a good achievement. From a guy who also...
We just need to find 4 more Kyle Langfords and we'll have a half-decent forward line.
Didn't even start forward.
It's just...
Silver linings. If Pete didn't get injured, that wouldn't have happened. So
yeah, but we seem to have somehow got the Gold Coast Pete back. I don't know what's happened there.
Yeah, form. We'll let it go. Anyway, VFL. I don't want to get stuck in too much to...
Yep, fair enough. VFL. So Setterfield had 29 possessions.
29 touches and a goal, 6 tackles. Straight in, you would
If
imagine.
okay, so straight in. Yep, I agree.
There is no VFL next week, so
So you agree, he comes in.
100%.
So who goes out?
Your mum.
I'd say it's Sardis. I'd say it's a straight swap. I think Sardis is going to be a great football player, but again,
Well, see, this is where what do you? You've just spent 15 minutes at the start of this.
yep,
About
I understand where you're
playing
going.
kids and
Yep,
I'm not having a
we've
go
had
at
a
you
look at
there.
Sardis.
I'm just saying.
We've had a look at Sardis, and I think that he's going to be a very good player.
But if he has to go out, so can Setterfield.
Well, if he goes out, yeah. But then you can't bring Setterfield in. Like the problem is, we've got no half forwards. We're playing midfielders as half forwards, and it's not working. Like Caldwell's playing down there. Perkins, who at some stages was our marking tall forward up on the wing. Like he got to 3 or 4 contests up on the wing because he's the only one that was there to do it. What I would do is I'd be picking Wiedemann to come back, or even Stewart. I see he played.
Stewart kicked 5.
Yeah, so they're like, get another tall forward in, because the whole Peter Wright, that it's so clear to anyone playing this. We're kicking it to Peter Wright. That's all. Go put 2 on him, and everything will be fine.
Maybe Kyle, but
yeah, but Kyle is a
off
leading forward. Kyle leads, so he's hard. Peter Wright doesn't know how to run at the ball. So what do? I just stick my hand up and go, "Yep, kicking to me."
All right.
I'm on a lead.
I'm going to do quick fire then.
Okay.
And maybe 2 parts. Brian.
Yes.
In.
Phillips out.
Good.
That's straightforward. Well, I think he comes in, but I don't know who for. Okay. So I'm just saying.
Quick fire.
Yep. Sorry.
Wiedemann.
I want to see him in because we need another tall forward.
Yep. 23 touches, 9 marks yesterday.
Or as a defender, if he played, like I didn't watch the game, but if he played in the defensive half, then play him as a defender in the seniors. Like, just do it.
So
drop Laverde and drop Kelly and bring in Baldwin and Wiedemann.
It's very tall. But they're tall anyway. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry, McGrath and Redmond and Hind might have to play on fucking smalls and actually play on them.
Do something.
Instead of Redmond gets, I just want to kick a goals, guys. I just want to kick goals. That's all I want to do. No, you're a fucking defender. Go back and get on someone and stop them kicking goals. Yep. Nah, don't want to do that. I want to go up the other end and kick goals.
Reeks a little bit of sad. Stuart?
Do
you reward? Yeah, I was going to say, do you reward it? Who for?
Well, Guelphy's the one out there.
I think that works. A forward line of Stewart and Wright as your 2 talls, and then Langford's your...
Guelphy's only kicked 14 goals for the year in these 15 games or whatever. Yep. He takes barely any marks. He's not... I don't think he's good enough to play as a forward. I really don't. I don't think he's good enough to be
consistent. He's good. He's
not good. He's better than the other options we have. But if you can compare him to other players, like it's talking about, we watched the Geelong game, the Collingwood Brisbane game. You look at their small forwards, what they all do on those 2 teams.
Yep.
Like they're dangerous small forwards. Guelphy's not. He's the best we have. I'll give you that. Mm-hmm. But in the list of the AFL, he's not even anywhere near the other small forwards.
This is the slowest quick fire ever. Davey Jr., 2 goals, 18 touches.
Yes and no. Probably no. He's just body's too small and he's still a bit scared of the contest. He's got to work that shit out.
Okay. That's the obvious ones. So Brian for Phillips. We're happy with that. Oh, the other one I wanted to ask was Voss, 2 goals, 3. A lot of that came in the first quarter, I believe.
He apparently can't get a game no matter what he does.
And you made this comment that Stringer wasn't 100% and that's why they started him as the sub. Well, why the fuck's he playing? I still see that as the option. Voss for Stringer.
But Stringer hasn't played the last 4 weeks and they didn't play Voss. So why would they do it now?
Yeah, I know. I agree.
I've given up on...
We cannot make finals
on the selection.
Now.
I've given up on the selection because I can't make sense of it.
We may as well bring in all the players we just mentioned and go, right, well, do your thing.
If Stringer can't play 120 minutes, do not pick him next week because there's no point.
There's no gain.
What I would like to see next week is a guy like Perkins playing off the half back line. I want to see something different. I know Scott doesn't do that. He's boring and rigid and sticks with the same thing until he gets sacked. And that's what he did at North Melbourne. And that's what I fucking hated about him at North Melbourne because he's just a boring coach. I like coaches that go, okay, let's swing it all around, boys, and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Which,
because then you go, well, we tried. Because then the coach is sitting there, you're thinking, well, the coaches actually tried to do something, and the players just didn't respond.
Yep,
that's okay.
And who was
Whereas
the last
when you
coach
watch
we
the
had that
same
did
thing
that?
continue to fucking happen, you go, well, how about we try something different? Because this ain't working.
Who was the last coach we had that did that?
I would probably say Shitty. Oh, Hurd.
No, Hurd, exactly.
Yeah.
Hurley, Carlisle, Hooker were all thrown around. And we
would
ended
Hurd
up...
have accepted that game on the weekend?
No, God, no. We wouldn't have... No. We found Hurley as a defender in that because he was a forward and ended up being an All-Australian defender.
Yep.
Because, yeah, as you say, we had a coach. I don't want to hang too much shit on Brad Scott. I think...
I do.
I don't know what I think yet. I think my opinions will become more clear when we see, one, what happens next week. Because now we're in a position where there's nothing to gain. In fact, there's more to gain from losing, I would argue.
How much money do you want to put on the fact that there'll be one, maybe two changes, and one of them will be an injury?
I'll support that. And two, the list changes. Because he came in last year not knowing what the list really was.
We didn't have time to do
an
anything with the
outsider's
list,
view. That's right. So now he's had 12 months. He would see Lord, McBride at training. Voss at training. He's had now 12 months. So, yeah, the list changes are going to be very interesting, which we will do a podcast around.
Burn the place.
Don't advocate violence, please.
No, not violence, just burn.
Well, that's quite violent.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to go too hard. I think the assistant coaches are probably more
in trouble
in the firing line because we haven't seen a lot of genuine improvement. You asked me off air, always sounds so wanky. Name 5 players that have improved this year, and I just scraped through to 5.
I was going to just finish with that.
Okay,
to pretend I didn't ask. Hey, Sam, I have a quick question for you.
Yes, hit me.
Name 5 players this year, and this is for everyone listening. Name 5 players this year who you think have improved.
Yeah, I have to remember who I said.
From round 1 to now.
Merritt.
Langford
was the first one. Yes, Langford's the obvious one.
And we all went, 100%. We found a forward.
Yep. Merritt, but we sort of talked about that being more leadership quality.
I don't think he's a better player. I think his leadership has really stepped up. Oh, I think he's playing as good as he's played other years. I think he's a better player. But I think that his leadership has taken a massive step.
Ridley, because 2020 he won the best and fairest, dropped off a little bit the next 2 years, and now has been very good this year until injured.
Yep, and I agree with that.
Durham, I know, was my last one because I think he's really improved as a winger.
We both went Martin.
Oh, Marta, yeah, of course.
Rusty.
Again, we found 2 genuine wingers out of them.
Again, though, Durham's not playing on a wing. He's playing as a forward.
Well, he has at times, though.
Because they don't have any decent marking forwards, so we have to put him there.
And I'd also argue Cox as well.
Oh, no.
Just towards the end. He's shown it enough.
He's played a couple of games.
And Perkins has probably gotten better.
I think Perkins I'll give you. I won't give you Cox. Okay. I think he's played a couple of games.
He died and made you queen of fucking list
I'm talking about improvement, like genuine improvement where you go, they're a better player now they were than at the start of the year. Cox has only played 3 games, or 4 games, whatever.
It is the wrong time to be asking this question.
I don't think we can put him in. I don't think he's had enough to see to allow that to...
Okay, that's fair. It is the wrong time to be asking this question because we lost by 126 points yesterday.
But even if you went to last week, the last week.
I would also say Caldwell.
Yeah, I'd let Caldwell go. He's improved. The other one I would have said at the start of the year was probably, halfway through the year was Draper. Yep. But we've seen too much now of injured time over playing time. I think you can't make that call now.
At times, McGrath, but only when he's actually been able to play a lockdown. Every other game where he's run free, no.
Nope. If you look at his start of the year, he's played some good games. To the end of the year, no, he has not improved. He's probably back where he was last year and the year before. He's still up and down too much. I'm talking about genuine 5, 10, 20 games where you play better footy you're playing like Langford is the example where he has played better footy all year.
Yep. Again, I'm just doing a little bit of trying not to be super reactive because we lost by 126 points.
No, but this is about we're at round 23 and we're trying to ask, and it's not about this week. I think we've got burnt in what happened yesterday, but it's about who become a better player this year for us.
Yep, which
it's a struggle.
It is difficult. I think that might do us. We have miraculously scraped through to 45 minutes.
That's all we could
Which
want to talk
is
about. Any socials?
phenomenal. Well, I was just looking through that actually. I posted yesterday that we were history makers. Because we, basically gave GWS their best day ever. Just the usual pathetic, some sarcastic go teams. Can't wait until next week. Disgrace, just that D word gets mentioned quite a lot. Beyond disgusted. Yikes. Training run for GWS. I mean, if any team was going to be the Wishers hats, you'd think it'd be them, but anyway. Phil, this loss makes it hard to remember the positives that were made this year.
That Pakistani Phil?
Hey?
Was that Phil, our Phil?
That's Phil. Yeah, Phil.
Phil.
Phil. Tassie Phil. Bright note, Flip kicked a goal and smiled. I missed that.
That happened after the first quarter.
I wonder where we'd be if Hurdy was at the helm.
Oh, I wonder where we'd be, to be honest.
I don't want to get sucked into that just yet.
I think I'd at least be happier because I like James Hurd.
Like
I know
Hurdy,
that's biased and shit. I get that, but I think that I would be like, well, it's James Hurd. Everything will be all right.
I still maintain that James Hurd was a very good coach.
Yeah,
when we had him.
That was that at all.
Yes, and I don't want to get sucked in.
James Hurd was like, Nick Martin's got a bit of that. When he gets the ball, Nick Martin, you go, good decisions will be made.
Mm-hmm. You can't.
You when relax. Nick Hine gets the ball, you go, oh,
yes,
fuck.
Yes, it's the difference between relaxing in your
chair. He could be running forward, Nick Hine. I don't know if you saw this, but he was running forward, bouncing, and then stopped. Ran backwards, nearly got tackled, snuck out of the tackle, and kicked it sideways. When you were sprinting forward, were there no options then? Or did the options dry up? Or what happened?
The thing I associate with Nick Hind, and this is now going to turn into bashing a little bit, running at full pelt, bouncing and falling over. Or bouncing and losing control of the ball because he's just moving that bloody quick. His little legs.
But he was running. There was a moment he's sprinting forward. He's had a bounce. He's looked up and then he stopped, tried to run back. And I'm going, but you've taken off. If you've taken off, surely you've seen something to run towards.
This shits me,
Don't
actually.
Just run.
This shits me all the time. When we're under the pump and we take a mark and you go, oh, thank God. Like we take a mark on halfback or something and you go, oh, thank God. Then they handball and they're immediately under pressure.
Yep. Like, and you go, that's not good footy.
Just stop. Kick the ball 50 metres down the other way. And if we turn it over there, all right, well, we're 50 metres that way. That's
hold
okay.
It for 2 seconds and go, what are my options? Yes. What are my options? Let's have a look around.
Oh, my God.
Give you time to the other defenders to create space and go, oh, I'll kick it to him.
I want to ask you a question without notice.
Yep, love it.
And this is for reals. I didn't actually bring this up before.
Yep.
Give me one player
on
our list.
Okay.
Let me finish the question because you're going to regret that.
Take it back straight away.
With value.
Yep.
That you would be happy to trade.
Parrish.
Okay. That didn't take long.
Well, okay. McGrath.
He's not a trade.
McGrath, I'd trade. It probably doesn't have a lot of value, but he'd have some value.
Yes.
I mean, that have to be someone out of contract, I assume?
No, trade. You can trade anyway. You can trade whatever.
Okay. Peter Wright.
Don't. How dare you?
I'm only kidding.
How dare you?
Jeez. I mean,
I think McGrath's a decent answer. You can stop
McGrath,
at one. We don't have to trade the whole list here.
No. Well, okay, if I'll do one out of each division.
Okay.
I'd go McGrath out of the back half.
Yep.
Midfield would be Parrish because I think that he's held his contract off long enough that I'd say, actually, we can get something for you. I reckon I'd be...
This is hilarious because we were preaching last week on how much value he has.
Yeah. It's his decision, though. But my issue is that if he's holding it to... It's the end of the year. There's one more game to go.
Yeah, you need to sign champion. Anyway, okay, forwards.
Forward would be... well, I don't know if there's any value in Stringer. Is there any value in Stringer? Probably not. I'd be someone like maybe... He's injury prone, but Jones.
Yeah, okay. I'd argue the value there as well. But... Just interested to see where your head was at. And I think McGrath
I would trade anyone out.
McGrath was the answer I was sort of fishing for. But
who would want McGrath, seriously?
It's amazing. And this is what I'll be really interested to see if BZT does go to Port, for instance. That's been rumoured. How much of a different player he is, one, under a different regime.
And when he's the second, it would be the third defender.
He's got Ali Relier next to him.
That's right, and they've got a couple. They've got that other young kid who's pretty good.
More just with Relier because Relier is the biggest, baddest defender they've got.
Well, he's
an
the best defender
All-Australian-
in the competition, nearly too.
No, well, he's an All-Australian defender.
Yeah.
So
He'd be close to another All-Australian this year, I imagine. Alir there.
I don't think. Yeah, maybe. Anyway,
I don't, well,
I
he'd
don't
be in the
watch Port
40. I'd
enough.
say he'd be in the 40.
I don't watch Port enough.
Yep. that's fine.
Anyway,
Well, they've been a top 4 team, and their defence has been
yes,
pretty good.
Yes, defence wins you premierships, don't you know?
Yeah, that's why Brisbane won't win one.
Brisbane still have to win at the MCG. That's the biggest
Brisbane,
hurdle they will
did you
face.
see how many points they let Collingwood kick against them? Like they scored over nearly 100.
It was 100. It was 100 to 124.
Like 100 points scored against you is not good defence.
No, it's not.
They're winning by kicking more, and that's I don't know if that wins premierships
win you
personally.
The benefit of Brisbane now is that they won't leave Brisbane.
No, that's
until
right.
a grand final potentially.
Yep.
So, and all year it's been, Brisbane can't win away from Brisbane.
And they've set themselves up to do that.
And apparently they can play at Marvel, but I'm sorry, the grand final's not going to be at
They
Marvel.
Collingwood at Marvel too. Did you say they got 6 games on them?
Yeah. The grand final's not held at Marvel, so if they've still got issues, they lost to Hawthorn at the G.
Oh, yeah, I don't think Brisbane can win it because they can't win at the MCG, and I think it's the
Where do you
same
sit
reason
on
why I
Collingwood
think
then?
Collingwood. Well, Collingwood I think can lose it because now, unless I'm mistaken with the draw, that they're pretty much going to finish top, and Melbourne will finish 4th. I don't think that'll change, will it?
I can suss that out.
Because if that happens, that means they have to play Melbourne, who are playing pretty good footy, at the MCG, without, I would imagine, Moore and Dacos wouldn't still be back. If they are, they'd be underdone as shit, surely, because Dacos' injury sounds pretty serious. Like, if he comes back too early, Dacos can re-injure himself. So,
no, to answer your initial question, theoretically, Port and Melbourne still are yet to play as of recording. Melbourne play Hawthorn.
you think they should win that?
Port play Freo. So you can kind of say 2 wins there.
Yep.
If they lose one of them, Carlton can still finish top 4. If either of them lose.
Yep.
Carlton has a superior percentage to Port, and he's only 2 points off Melbourne, so that's, 1 win, 1 loss. That's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
But otherwise, Melbourne are 4 points behind Port, but with a way, way, way better percentage. Melbourne have the best percentage in the comp, actually.
Which is a sign of a good team, as we say.
Yes. So
that means you're defending well, you're keeping teams to low scores, and you're scoring well yourself. Is usually the basics around percentage.
And Port play Richmond next week. Melbourne play Sydney. I think what you've said then will be what happens. I think it'll be Collingwood, Melbourne, Brisbane, Port. And yes, Melbourne are dangerous to Collingwood.
Well, I'm saying, that's my point, is that the only team Collingwood wouldn't want to play at the MCG would be Melbourne, because Brisbane, obviously, they'd flog them. Port aren't still unknown.
In the land of hypotheticals, I believe, anyway, Collingwood lose their first final, Carlton win it. That's a Collingwood-Carlton semi-final, I think.
And then you would assume if they did win that one, say if whoever wins that has to go play Brisbane.
Correct. Wouldn't that
Brisbane.
be the ultimate turnaround for Carlton to win that?
Oh, yeah.
Out of finals
from the last year
to Collingwood. And I would honestly
vote
sit
for
there
that.
and go, I'll take
I'm
that.
voting for that, Sam. I'm voting for Collingwood to win. No, Carlton to win by 1 point in the final. Oh, wouldn't you just? The crowd, wouldn't you just be? Oh.
Collingwood-Carlton final is enormous anyway.
Imagine if Carlton won it by a point. Imagine all those supporters of Carlton that were there the year before watching them
And
lose.
I would support them all getting in the faces 100%. Of every single Collingwood. I would support Carlton supporters getting in our faces right now. After our...
Yeah, good on you, Carlton. You're better than us.
I do find myself having a high level of respect for Carlton because they were in pieces. They were supporters yelling at them, screaming at them, going off the ground after our game.
The thing that's fascinating is that they nearly seem worse with Mackay in the team, though. Like he came back this week and they looked more...
There was a bit of chat about that before yesterday too, actually.
Maybe he's someone that could be tradable. We could do with him.
We could get both.
I'll get both Mackays. Now I'm in for that. I'm still not in for the one Mackay, to be honest.
If we're going to be trading draft picks, let's talk to West Coast and try and get pick one.
Yep.
Please.
We'll have probably a conversation after this about that because I think we've probably dribbled on long enough.
I think we have. We were going to wrap up 10 minutes ago. Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate you. And if you have made it this far, similar to if you made it through the whole game, well done. You deserve...
You don't get a free membership from us.
We can't. No, we probably can't sustain that. Dakota did win the voucher for the Bomber Shop, though.
Oh, good.
They got in touch with me late in the week.
Yep.
So, right on, Dakota, if you're still listening. I don't want to say go Dons, so get stuffed, Dons. We'll chat to you next week.
Be fucking better, Bombers.
Be better, yeah, be better. Toodles.
Turtles.